Hey, I'm Adam Jusko from ProudMoney.com, and in this video we are going to review the new Sephora credit card. But before we do that, I'd ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So last month, Sephora said that they were going to be rolling out a new credit card. They said they were going to be doing it slowly, which I believe they are, because today I stumbled upon the online application for the card, but that card is not actually linked from the Sephora.com homepage. So I've put the link in the description of this video. If you're watching this video, months in the future, it probably doesn't matter anymore. But as of today, when I'm making this video, this is sort of a hidden link a little bit, but it appears like it works and that the application is good to go. So we are going to review the card here. The quick summary of this video is if you are a big Sephora fan, you might find value in this credit card. If you're someone who's, sort of a more casual customer of Sephora, there is probably more value other places, not sure that it will be worth your time. All right, so here's how the card works. When you apply for this card, you are going to be considered for one of three cards. So there are actually three Sephora credit cards that you potentially could get. There's a Visa Signature, there's a regular Visa, and there is a Sephora-only store card. When you apply, Comenity Capital Bank, which is the issuer of the Sephora credit card, is going to consider you first for the Visa Signature. If your credit history is not good enough for that, they'll then consider you for the Visa card. If your credit history is not good enough for that, they will consider you for the Sephora-only store card. So obviously the Visa cards can be used anywhere Visa is accepted, including Sephora. The Sephora-only store card can only be used at Sephora. Now this is actually not that big of a deal because as far as I'm concerned, this is a card that should only be used at Sephora because the rewards outside Sephora are really not any good. So using it as a Visa outside Sephora really doesn't make any sense. So here's how the rewards are doled out. You are going to get 4 rewards dollars, or you could just think of them as points for every dollar you spend in Sephora stores or on Sephora.com. You're going to get 1 point for every dollar that you spend with the card outside of Sephora stores, which obviously means if you have the Visa card, it can be used outside Sephora, so you would get 1 point per dollar if you use that card as a Visa anywhere else. For every 125 rewards dollars or points, if you want to think of them that way, which is a little simpler, 125 is going to equal a $5 rewards certificate that you can then use toward a future Sephora purchase. Now for new card members, there are a couple of other goodies. One of them is that if you apply for the card, you have the opportunity to be instantly approved. So if you are approved and you use the card for Sephora purchases on that same day that you applied and were approved, you will get 15% off that day's purchases. They also give you a little incentive as a new card holder to use the card outside of Sephora. So if you use the card for at least $500 of purchases outside of Sephora within the first 3 months of having it, you're going to get a $20 rewards certificate, which essentially means you're going to get a 4% return or 4 points per dollar on those purchases, up to $500 to get that $20 certificate. So really what they're doing is they're giving you a little incentive to use it outside Sephora by giving you the same reward that they would give you for purchases, at Sephora on purchases outside of Sephora. So it's not even totally a bonus because they would all, normally be giving you 1 point. So they're giving you sort of an extra 3 points per dollar on those first $500 of purchases outside of Sephora in the first 90 days. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so with retail store cards, there is always a lot of fine print, and the Sephora credit card is no exception. So I'm gonna run down sort of a laundry list here of things that you might also want to consider with this card. Number 1 is when you get a rewards certificate, it is going to be good for 90 days. So you're going to hit that 125 points or 125 rewards dollars as they call them. You're going to get a $5 reward that you can use toward a future purchase, but you're only going to get 90 days to use it. So you got about 3 months when that reward certificate shows up. Now, if you earn rewards, say you are a casual Sephora customer and you're not in there very often, if you earn rewards and you don't hit that $5 threshold, that 125 point threshold in order to get that $5 bonus, those points are going to sit And if you don't get to that threshold within 18 months, the rewards that you have are going to expire. So if you make a purchase today and you don't ever hit that $5 threshold by getting 125 points, then the purchases you make today would then, the points from those purchases would then expire after 18 months. The rewards that you earn are stackable, meaning that if you spent a ton at Sephora and you had earned, 250 points and you got two $5 certificates at once, you could use both of them at the same time in a Sephora store, but as far as I can tell, you cannot use them together on Sephora.com. Sephora also has stores within JCPenney. If you shop at the Sephora stores within JCPenney, you're not going to get the 4 points per dollar on your purchases there. I'm not sure why they do that, but however, Sephora has worked things. Obviously, it doesn't make sense for them to do it at the JCPenney Sephoras, so you're going to get that 4 points per dollar at freestanding Sephora stores, not within JCPenney. Now, you must use the Sephora credit card when you redeem your rewards certificates for anything that you owe beyond the value on the rewards certificate. So if you have a $5 certificate, you go to Sephora and you spend 25 bucks, the remaining $20 that you still have to pay for will have to go on your rewards credit card, your Sephora credit card, in order for you to use that $5 reward, which is actually kind of tricky because what that means is they can always sort of force you to have some sort of reward sitting on your credit card, because every time you use a reward, you obviously are going to spend a little more than that reward, and so you're going to have points sitting in your account pretty much at all times once you get this card. There is no annual fee for the Sephora credit card. In terms of interest rate, there are essentially two different interest rates that you could be accepted at depending on your credit history, neither of which is very good. So if your credit history is decent and you get this card, at best, you are going to get a 19.24% interest rate, which is pretty high, by any standard. If your credit history is not as good, you could be accepted at a 27.99% interest rate. And of course, those are the interest rates as of the making of this video. If interest rates go up, otherwise sort of in the wider market, those could even potentially go higher. So pretty bad interest rates, even for a retail store card, which are sort of, infamous for having high interest rates. So you don't ever want to carry a balance on your Sephora credit card. So what are my thoughts on this card? Should you get it? Well, 4% on Sephora purchases is not bad, although I tend to think that 5% is more the standard for retail store credit cards. So I do think this is a little stingy in terms of the rewards it's giving you for your purchases at Sephora. In terms of the 1% or 1 point per dollar that you would earn on purchases outside of Sephora, assuming you had the Visa, this is not a particularly good rate. You could find plenty of other credit cards on the market where you can, get more than 1 point or 1% back on the purchases you make. And of course, the, rewards that you would get from this card are only good toward future discounts at Sephora, where a, mass market credit card that gave you over 1% cash back or, points or whatever, obviously would be more flexible in order for you to use it. In terms of the rewards certificates themselves, the fact that the rewards certificates expire in 90 days is not a great thing, although it's not necessarily out of line with how some other retail store cards, kind of structure their programs. Some of them even only give you 60 days when you get your rewards certificates. I also am not a fan of the fact that they give you the $5 certificate automatically every time you, spend $125 at Sephora, because what that means is you get $5, you only have 90 days to use it. Unless you've spent a ton, you're not really going to ever get a sort of large reward that you can use all at once at Sephora. So they're not giving you the option to sort of keep those points sitting in an account and let them build up and then, all of a sudden use a $20 or $25 reward or anything. They're just going to send those rewards off to you every time you have hit that $5 threshold. Then you got 3 months to use them. So, for most people, they're going to go in Sephora and they're going to spend more than $5. So really what you're getting is a $5 coupon every time you spend $125 with the card. So if you're someone that goes to Sephora often, maybe that is, attractive too. You spend $125 at Sephora, you're going to end up getting a $5 coupon that you can use for a future trip. You know you're going to go again, so this card could be something that makes sense for you to add to the other cards you have. Doesn't make sense to use it outside of Sephora. It does not make sense to make it your everyday card, but it could be good for the Sephora fan. If you are a casual Sephora customer, there's really no reason to get this card unless you want to, take advantage of that 15% off on the, day that you get approved for the card. If your credit score is good enough and you want to take advantage of that easy 15% off, that might make sense. But in terms of a card that you're going to use with any regularity, this is probably not going to cut the mustard as far as you are concerned. So that is it for this video. If you have any comments, I'd love to see them in the comments section below. Otherwise, I would ask you to go to proudmoney.com, where we do credit card reviews, and we have personal finance news, and we talk deals and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thank you for watching. Bye.